Once again, it is a wonderful Thursday evening. How's everyone doing in chat? How's everyone doing? Hope everyone is having a good day. If you're not having a good day, hope the stream makes your day a little bit better. As always, we are talking about occultism with video games in the background. Though this is a decidedly less occult stream. This is more of a philosophy stream that has occult elements on the occult channel, talking about philosophy that has been inspired by the occult. Very philosophical stream today that I have planned. How's everyone doing in chat? It's been a good week. For those of you who didn't see, I was on Postmodern Iconoclast again with Georgina Rose. This is I think it's my fourth time. For those of you wondering what I said, for those of you who have seen it, there is a weird audio glitch. I have no idea what I said during that time. It's been a long week. It has been a long week. So yeah, I do not remember what I said in that little excerpt there, but it was a good podcast. It was a good podcast. It's about how Liber Samek doesn't really belong in the rest of the Obermelon rituals, as well as in the kind of the headless rite occult family, the headless, the bornless, and then you have Liber Samek, which one of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong, is basically the entire theme of the episode. So if you're interested in my opinions on Liber Samek, which for those of you who have seen the streams frequently is not positive, you can go see that there. Now that I'm done shilling the podcast that I was on, this is a philosophy stream. We're talking philosophy. So, one of the things that gonna turn this down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So one of the things that a lot of people seem to not really get when it comes to the occult is there is a lot of philosophy that is required. And when I say philosophy, I mean just kind of interpreting things in a very specific worldview. Because when you go through and you start doing occult things, your worldview starts to change. And the most, this is actually kind of like where the veils come in, like is a fundamental change in perception, right? So if you think about it, you start out and you have, going from non-occult to occult, the first thing you see is you have the, oh god, what is it called? The veil of material. Or I think it's like materiality or something. It's the recognition that there is more to the world than just mundane physical reality. Which, honestly, let's be honest, is kind of a godsend. Because if you think about it, for a majority of human history, we were thinking about such wonderful things as, is the harvest going to be good this year? Or are we going to have a famine like the famine of 30 years ago? Right? And of course you occasionally had like insane things like, ooh, maybe, maybe the town over did something to anger the gods, and that's why they had the dancing plague and they all danced themselves to death, which is a weird history fact that yeah, I'm not going to go into that, but that did happen. Unfortunately, it's kind of tragic that people got danced to death. Does Does anyone know about that one? That weird history fact? Yeah. So, when you come to the first gate, as it were, in your spiritual advancement, the first gate is there is more to life than just the material world. And that is a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing to know that there is a continuality, so to speak. Assuming you believe that. They were probably tripping on ergot? No, it was like an entire town that just all of a sudden did this. I mean, if that is the case, good God. If the entire town had a group hallucination of that, that is absolutely insane. But yeah, so you go through, and you start out with the veil of material. It was Top Chat on? Oh God. Yes, it was. Thank you, Opera. But Mr. Amateur Magus, I hate philosophy. I want to do the funny ritual with big titty goth GF in High Moon. Oh man. You can't do that without your ritual offerings of Crab Rangoon. That's like the covenant you make with the meme gods, Opera. Yes. Top Chat is now off, by the way. I apologize if I missed any any comments. I believe I've only missed one. Yeah, I think I've only missed one. Yeah, I hate that YouTube does that. But yeah, so we start out with acknowledging that there is higher powers, which is a beautiful thing. And the reason it's a beautiful thing is because, I don't know if you notice, the world is depressing a lot of the time. And believing in higher power has actually, I believe, scientifically been proven to result in people being able to, like, mentally withstand tragedy better. That's not exactly how it's phrased, but, like, in order to believe in the future, believe in a future, you need to have a solid grasp of there is something above that can be better. You need to believe in better for you to want to engage in better. Does that make sense? You need to believe that there is more to reality than just suffering, sadness, and taxes. Which, honestly, is a great thing. Never underestimate somebody who believes in something greater than himself. That is the most terrifying... Like, the most terrifying individuals are the people who fully believe in what they are doing. And they fully believe that they are doing a good cause. Those are the most powerful individuals. Being the secular Reddit tier atheist made me absolutely miserable. Oh, there is a pipeline of atheist to occultist that just, after a certain point, causes people to be happy. I mean, you mean I can't be a nihilist? You can be a nihilist, but, like, just put your hand through your arm. And, like, you believe in nothing? Do you believe in pain? You gotta believe in something, right? As long as you believe in, like, something, that's usually, like, enough for a lot of people. I saw this video on, it's originally a TikTok, but I saw it on Instagram because I'm a normal person who watches all of my TikToks a week later on Instagram. Because I don't use TikTok. And it was that there are two religions. The first religion is looking up at the highest good, right? And this is Western. And you look up at the highest good and you aspire to be that. That's what I'm talking about here. The other one is you look at the lowest thing. And you realize that if the lowest thing can maintain happiness, you, something that is by necessity larger, should be able to be happier than that because you are greater than that. And suffering is temporary, because if the grains of sand do not complain about X, Y, and Z, despite the fact that, you know, do you guys know what grains of sand go through? Like, grains of sand... This is, like, half joking, but, like, it's actually, like, a geological thing here. Grains of sand go through more what we would consider trauma, I guess? It's not really the right word. They go through more struggles than we like to give them credit for. Because if you think about it, where do those grains of sand come from? Well, they come from rocks that have been solidified magma that has been destroyed and crushed into inconceivable piles of dust over time by ocean currents. Which is really hardcore if you think about it, but it's also incredibly insane to think about. Like, imagine becoming something completely different and then being battered by the ocean for millennia. That is literally what grains of sand go through to become grains of sand. Now, granted, grains of sand don't have to pay taxes, but they do also not get to experience the joys of Crab Rangoon. As I have been told I have obsess over, because honestly, Crab Rangoon is peak joy. Not actually peak joy, but it's very close. He says, getting all of his joy from memes. So yeah. Hence the soap opera slogan from Days of Our Lives, like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not... But you're not literally, like, we're not literally being, like, torn apart by ocean currents, right? And that's what it means when it's, like, you look at the lowest thing. You look at the, like, tiniest thing, and if that thing can continue on, it's happy. Does a little dance and gives you my stripper money. Thank you, Lord Maru, for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Maru. Oh, man. Once again, I would like to thank Maru. Maru is the artist of the channel logo, for those of you who don't know. Yeah, it's a wonderful... So if you look at things, and you can either look at, like, there is a higher good and there is a lower thing, right, that is still maintaining happiness. And if you think about it like that, why would we ever want to, like, actively be sad? This is why you have to believe in something. This is, like, the prerequisite for maintaining healthy mental health in the occult. Healthy mental health sounds like sounds, you know, redundant, but, like, good mental health is maintained by believing in something higher, right? Which is, you know, that's important. You need to believe in stuff that can make you see the good. Because if we're not seeing the good, what is the point, right? Thanks for not using dull, empty AI art. Oh god. Yeah, no. I try not to use AI art for important, like, I try not to use AI art for important stuff. And that's another thing. I try not to use AI art, like, some of the thumbnails have AI art in them, but that's not because I want to use AI art, that's because my artist is fucking busy. They are very busy, and I upload 1 to 2 videos a week. One video on YouTube, one video on YouTube, and a video on Patreon. And in order to bug my artist for that, it would be like a full-time thing. So. But that's the only reason I use AI art at all. I'm not a fan of AI art. To be perfectly honest. I'm not a fan. And I'm not a fan because AI art, in order to have soul requires so much effort, it's not even funny, and it's still made by a machine. So it still doesn't have the same prerequisite amount of soul that I would want. But yeah, as for the logo on the channel, I do not... The channel logo will never be AI art. That is not going to happen. Will the logo change? Eventually, yes. Will it be AI art when it changes? God, no. That is, you can hold me to it. Will there be AI art if on the channel? There is already AI art on the channel, unfortunately, and that is because I need thumbnail art. That's it. That's it. So yeah. AI art looks nice sometimes, but the issue is I often enjoy art because somebody made it. It was an expression from another living human being. Exactly, but like, okay. This is gonna sound weird. The reason I have AI art on the channel is the same reason why Marvel movies suck now. Because they're soulless, and they are mass-produced. At least until they figure out how to extract soul from the machine to use. I've literally prayed to tech pieces like I am a tech priest before. I have used magic in it. Like, I have used magic to appease the machine spirits in real life. Literally. Like, I've done this, and the router has worked because of it. But, for the most part, it's one of those things of, you know, I can't always be, you know, I would prefer if I could, like, find a way to have a lot of soul in everything that I do. But it becomes a trade-off, right? It comes at a trade-off. Dave the Tech Priest? Actually, yes. Like, you'd be surprised how often your problems can be solved, in fact, by using magic to get the router to work when you work in tech. It's just a thing that happens. But yeah, and that's another thing. After a certain point of time, you start to have a moment where it's like, wait, if I can do magic to solve this problem, why don't I just use magic to solve this problem? Does that make sense? That sounds weird. Like, oh, wait, if I can use magic to solve my problems, why am I not? Right? Or you, like, start to do a thing where in your head, you are like, okay, if I am having a problem, right, I try to solve it. If it doesn't work, I then try to solve it, you know, I try to solve it using magic, and then after I try to solve it using magic, or if I don't try to solve it using magic first, then I will eventually go to trying to solve it with magic. Because that's kind of the whole point, right? That do be the point of using magic, is to solve your problems. I have an entire video on why we do magic, and it is 99.9% solving problems we don't want to deal with, right? There's also, like, developing spiritually, and that's an important thing. And that kind of, as weird as it sounds, developing spiritually, depending on your worldview, and depending on how magic kind of shapes your views on things, right? Depending on how your views on magic shape things, you're gonna have a moment where it's like, oh, I just don't need to worry about this. Because, like, magic will solve it. I recently heard about AI getting closer to artificial general intelligence. Okay, that's gonna be funny. Just because AI is getting close to general intelligence doesn't mean it's gonna do anything. I feel like AI has taught us, just the uses of AI has taught us that there is genuinely no point in trying to predict what AI will do. Because do you know what the biggest use of AI is right now? The biggest use of AI right now is mass-producing logos to put on t-shirts. And programming stuff. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is kind of funny. Yeah, I have noticed that the more you engage with the different spirits and different energies when working in the occult, like, this is part of why initiation is something that I really, really harp on. Because I really think that initiation, or, like, trying to develop relationships with your spiritual journey and the things that are assisting you is really important. Welcome in. And the reason why I think it's really important is because if you don't develop the relationships, those relationships are going to develop anyways. But if you're not actively developing them, they will be developed for you, right? Or the lack of relationships will be developed for you, as weird as that sounds. Because if you are not actively cultivating your own relationships, they will be cultivated for you, right? This is where you get the whole parasocial phenomenon from. It's because, you know, large creators do not directly engage with people, and people project things onto their favorite creators. That's where that comes from. It's just a fact. It also leads to... I will say, depending on the magical things you are dealing with, you do run a risk of developing what I call sanity damage, which is, sometimes you learn things about the world from spiritual perspectives that are really uncomfortable. That are really, really just, I didn't need to know this kind of stuff, right? All problems solve themselves. Now, whether or not it's acceptable solution is a different story. Time does solve all problems. However, I would prefer my problems be solved in a way that I want them to be, not the way that the divine plans sometimes. Because, I don't know about you, but, oh god, there's a phrase that I've been thinking about a lot more recently. God is a bad writer, which is why our lives seem so weird, so... You know, it's a small world, right? Like, that is kind of the exemplary, like, a good example of, yeah, just because we can let the divine take the wheel does not mean it will always be in our favor, right? There's a whole thing, and... Alright. Sorry for the Star Wars fans here. In the Star Wars prequel movies, the whole thing is about how Anakin will eventually bring balance to the Force, right? And the thing is, Anakin technically does bring balance to the Force. If you look at it, Anakin brings balance to the Force by destroying the good side. Because that was where the unbalance is. You know what a good movie about what you're saying reminds me of? Saturn, The Adjustment Bureau. Oh, yeah. That's a good movie, I've heard. I've heard nothing but good things on that movie. I should really watch that movie. Yeah, the Adjustment Bureau of, like... Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the movie where it's, angels are, like... Angels have God's plan, and they're trying to make sure God's plan goes off. But if something happens that isn't in the plan, they have to adjust it. That is the movie, right? That's like a great movie. Like the whole, we need to make sure God's plan goes off without a hitch. And then it's like, God's plan, something wrong happens. We need to amend the plan. Depending on how big it is. The Jedi forgot that they were a galaxy-spanning civilization? Yes, exactly. Skeptic. That is, like, entirely why it's like a... That's why... This is the way I'm explaining it. If you ever want people to be like, yeah, no, maybe we shouldn't just let the divine do that, just show them the Star Wars movies, where it's like, Anakin brought balance to the Force, because he balanced the Jedi and the Sith, because there was 2 Sith? There's only ever 2 Sith in the entire galaxy, and there were, like, hundreds of Jedi. That is the entire thing. Now, granted, they did it through covert means, which is the most Saturnian thing ever. It's very, very Scorpio, actually. Funny enough. But yeah, just that alone is pretty... It's pretty fucking wild when you think about it. So that's a whole thing. And one of the interesting things I've started to adopt, more like millions. Yeah, that 2 versus a million. It's like they're going to bring balance to the Force. It's like, yes. I wonder what the 1,000,000+ Jedi are going to do versus 2 Sith. Absolutely wild. So yeah. This also leads into a thing that I've really started noticing. I have a thing where I have like a checklist, right? Something bad happens. I don't immediately panic. Right? I don't immediately panic. I ask myself a very simple question. Can I directly control this thing, and does it affect me? If I can't control it, and it doesn't affect me, 9 times out of 10, I don't care. That make sense? Because why am I going to spend... Like, think about it like this. I talk to angels regularly, and things go well all the time, right? So if it's a case of I can do magic for things, right? Why do I care about stuff that doesn't affect me, right? Stoic mode activated. Exactly. Like, it's literally stoicism. It's a form of it, I think, right? You just kind of adopt this stoic mindset over time. At least I have. I don't care what other people are doing, as long as it doesn't affect me. It's like peak libertarianism. Like, I'm not a political person, but it's like, as long as things are not bothering me, as long as I am left alone, I don't care. I've had this weird idea in my head for a while that God wants you to rebel against his plan. If you simply coast through life, you'll be pushed along a boring, lonely, and often tragic path. Let me let me say this on no uncertain terms. God does not want you to be boring. God does not want you to be boring. God wants you to take your life, to take the cards you are dealt, and he wants you to play the card game that he puts the cards in your hand for. God does not want you to go ahead and be like, oh, I have a bunch of cards in my hand. Oh boy, I can't wait to play Texas Hold'em when you have Uno cards in your hand. Why are you struggling to play Texas Hold'em when he dealt you into a game of Uno? Right? Now, it's up to you to recognize that you have Uno cards in your hand, but you don't need to go ahead and be like, oh, well, you need to be playing this very specific game, Sonny. You need to be going ahead and playing this very specific game, right? If God gives you a deck of tarot cards and says, go do occult stuff, it is not your job to go play Magic the Gathering, or Uno, or poker. It's your job to go do whatever it is that those tarot cards are for. And now, fortunately, now this is the funny thing, when you figure out what that game of life is that you are supposed to be playing, because there's different games of life. You know, maybe you get dealt a hand and you don't recognize what the cards are. Not everyone does. But the thing is, when you get into occultism, the job of occultism is to teach you what those cards are and where you're supposed to be going. That's the entire point of occultism, is to give you direction and make you feel like you belong, right? You're not supposed to be going through working a miserable job, working in a terrible, you are not supposed to be some cog in the machine. I refuse to believe that there was millions of years of evolution that the divine hand-tailored so that everyone can wake up and go and be a cog in a machine for some artificial construct so that number can go up and human suffering increases ad infinitum. I refuse to believe this. And if I need to grab a deck of tarot cards to force the tarot to say something to the effect of Five of Pentacles, Judgment, the Sun, I will stack the deck. And that's what magic is for. There you go. There's my entire stance on God doesn't want you to be miserable. God does not want you to live a boring existence so number can go up and stockholder value increases. Unless that increases the stockholder value of you in your own life. And your own happiness value. There you go. That's my thoughts on that. Well said again. Well said, I agree. Actually, you know what? Okay, guys, I have amazing news. For literally since I started streaming, there has been a stupid red heart emoji on my control dashboard that I cannot get rid of, and I just found a way to minimize it. We are so back. I need to remember that rant next time I get frustrated with life. I muted the game audio. You might be seeing that come as a stream highlight. That might be a stream highlight. I don't know. I'm told I need to do shorts. Despite the fact that the government is now banning TikTok or some shit. I don't know. Stand down or die. Hopefully that was a good rant. Because I see that a lot. I see that a lot of people trying to play games that are designed for other people, right? People trying to do things that they ultimately hate because they think it's what they're supposed to do. It's not what they want to do, it's what they're supposed to do, right? Like, if you're gonna be doing anything, at least do something you like, right? Like, people shouldn't be going like, oh no. Tarot Uno sounds interesting though. Let me tell you, if you get dealt an Uno hand by God and you see a plus 20, run. You just got, like, if you were like, yeah, deal me a new hand for a new game, and then you see like Uno No Mercy cards, I got some bad fucking news for you. Got some bad fucking news for you. For those of you who don't know, there is an Uno No Mercy, and it's got, like, draw 10 and stuff. It's pretty insane. Despite the fact that there is, in fact, a Mercy rule. So, yeah. This is what I mean when I say philosophy changes, because, like, you know, you start and you think, like, you know, there's just, some things are meant for different people, right? Some things are meant for different people. I'm not complaining about, like, I rarely see the movies. I rarely go to the movies. And, but I've recognized over time that some things are good, but they're not for me, right? Like, you know, magical practice-wise, I do ceremonial magic. I do a lot of grimoire magic. I do angel-based magic, right? Taoism, ATRs, South American witchcraft, all of that stuff is not for me. The people who do it and are good at it, I know quite a few of them. And they're very good at what they do. But is that my thing? No. So why am I going to try to do that if it's not me? Right? I would rather be the best me than the worst somebody else. And that's something that, like, that's something really strange. Like, when that shift in your perception happens of, like, would you rather be the best you or the worst other person? Right? I love the idea of breaking up your live streams into topic snippets and shorts if they can fit. You cover so many topics that deserve highlighting. Yeah, I mean, like, if you got, like, straight up, I need to find, like, a way to do that. Because, like, the card game discussion will be clipped. Because that's something I feel like everyone would enjoy. But, yeah, for the most part, it's just one of those things of, like, you go through and it's such a weird thing looking at pre-occultism me and post-occultism me, because quite literally we are unrecognizable. Like, pre-occultism me and post-occultism me are very strangely different, for the better. Because I don't... Quick poll of chat. Quick poll of chat, real quick. How many people have noticed that since getting into spirituality and their spiritual development, your perception of life has gotten more positive? Now, I will caveat this with, usually it comes with a, we love people, but we want to keep them from a distance mentality. Because, I will be perfectly honest, not every person that I engage with needs my full attention all the time, right? And some people are just trying to talk and spread misery. But I've noticed that you can tell somebody is on a good spiritual path when they try to minimize the amount of suffering that is just imparted to the world. Which doesn't always happen, I will fully admit. But it's usually, because, you know, there's 3 reasons people get into occultism. Power, prestige, princesses. Princes or princesses, depending on your persuasion. And usually that is because they feel like they are definitively lacking in their lives for something. Like, they're just lacking. Some part of their life is lacking, and that's why they get into occultism, right? You know. Becoming a witch opened the doors out of the blue and makes me feel like I have so many options and possibilities. I bet it made you relax more, too. Like, the anxiety goes down. Like, things might not look perfect, but they're not gonna be full-on, absolutely gut-wrenchingly terrible. As long as you have, like, the ability to do some magic and fix it, usually. Now, some things happen and Saturn is like, gotcha, and you can't fix those, but for the most part, I would say, for the most part, you don't need to worry about a lot of things. It does definitely open up a lot of avenues, which is great, which is absolutely fantastic. And honestly, can't really complain about that. You really can't. You know? And that's what I mean when I say the philosophy changes. Because, like, your outlook on life changes. How you engage with life changes. And you care about... You do care about the spiritual development side of things, but you don't care about the spiritual development side of things to the degree that it's like, yes, we must always do X, Y, and Z. Now, granted, there are things you need to do as like a witch or an occultist or, you know, some spiritual person, but you end up in a place where it's like, you end up more thankful than you would if you just, like, were in a trash can. Like Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street. I don't know why Oscar the Grouch is popping into my mind, but, if that is synchronistic, I apologize to whoever it is synchronistic for, and why. But yeah. You know, they say you need to, honestly, without my spiritual beliefs, I actually believe I'd be dead. I first got interested in it the exact time I needed it. Yeah, that usually happens. I just got chased by a couple of dogs at the front gate. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, skeptic? I don't know how to feel about that one. I don't know. But yeah. And this, here's some other things. You notice when engaging in occultism, and specifically occult philosophy, not to be confused with the 3 books of, You notice when engaging in occult philosophy that you can tell a lot about people by the way they do things, right? Like, you can tell a lot about people by the way that they will play games, or the entertainment they like. Like, you can tell a lot about people by the way they play chess, is the way I like to phrase it. Because usually you can tell exactly how people are going to react to things based on the way that their chess games go. I'm not going to get too into depth here, because how many people here know the ins and outs of chess? But, like, most people barely even know that castling exists. And I bet fewer people know that chess boxing exists, which, by the way, if you have not seen chess boxing, I highly recommend. Absolutely peak content on the internet. I'm so happy. There you go. There's the initial topic. There's the initial topic. There's your perception. There's your philosophy changing. Hope everyone learned some things. Hope everyone learned. Philosophy is one of those things that I would love to talk about more, but it's like I can only beat the dead horse so many times before people like, all right, I get it, Dave. You know? Like, this is, what was it? This is kind of like why you have all the problems of, you go through, and there's so much, like, self-help, quote-quote, material online that there is now, like... This was the weirdest thing I got to watch in real time. Just barely got the gate closed by the time they reached the gate. Oh, well, that's... Literal dogs, okay. Be safe. I honestly love to hear about the chess/personality correlation. Alright, there are three different things in chess. There is an opening, there is a mid-game, and there is an end-game. Okay? And you can tell how... Wait, philosophy beating the dead horse, Sagittarius? Yes, I will... That horse is going to be firmly a pile of glue stuck with arrows by the end of it. But yeah, so for the chess thing... Hang on, you know what? We'll just... In case this ends up being good. There's three different parts of chess, right? There is a opener, there is a mid-game, and there is an end-game. Okay? Now, if people struggle with openings, but are great in the mid and end game, it means that they do not know how to start situations. Usually. If they're good in the mid game, but they're bad at end games, they do not know how to follow through. If they're good in the end game, but they don't know how to get there, that means they know how to close out situations, but not know how to, like, actually solve them. It's one of those things of... And there's one more that I've noticed. If people consistently... And mind you, this is not for grandmasters. This is for... this is for people who are, like... just regular people playing chess, not, like, grandmasters. Because, though you can learn a lot from them as well, and this does hold true. If they consistently do gambits, I've noticed, it's because they want to try to get one over on people. Despite the fact that it might not work. Right? So they are willing to risk potentially a safer route in order to get one over on the situation. That's what I've noticed. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but that is what I have personally noticed, and maybe other people have noticed that. Maybe other people have noticed that. There's more of these things that you can notice. Like, you can notice, oh god, you know, you can tell a lot about people based on, like, what they enjoy, generally speaking. Because it, like, reflects a part of them. As kind of weird as that is. What is going on? My game turned into a slideshow. Okay. Does anyone notice that? Like, you can tell, and this might have to do with natal chart placements as well. This might just be like oh, that's representative of their natal chart. But it's like, you know, natal chart is just a reflection of you anyways. For the most part. There is... to a greater or lesser degree, I would agree with this. And, yeah. So, yeah. I will say, it's definitely an interesting thing watching. Like, you can actually tell people, like, you can actually tell a lot about people by how they do their magic, too. I realize. Because depending on how people do their magic, it's like, ah, yes, you did this magic. You did this particular magic in this particular way. You kind of are more inclined to act in these particular ways. Like, hermetic magicians are usually more thought out, usually more, not spiritual, but, like, usually Abrahamic. You kind of have to, at this point, to be, like, a modern hermetic, like a neo-hermetic. You kind of need to believe in a Most High, so to speak. But, yeah. But you also have to, like, recognize that paganism is also valid. So it's like there is a Most High beyond what most people think is a Most High. Where it's like, ah, yes. Magic. But also, the magic is filtered through Most High affiliation. I don't know. Hope that made sense. That made sense. Like, if people... Here's a good example. You can tell a lot about people by the deities and the spirits they work with. Like, if they're primarily worried about working with, like, solar spirits, they're going to have, like, a strong personality. But if they're primarily working with, like, Venus spirits, they're primarily concerned with not having a strong personality. Maybe they're concerned with getting people to like them. Most High squared? Yeah, really, it's... That's a whole thing. The Most High squared phenomenon, so to speak. Most High cubed, if you would. Which, y'all know that, like... Saturn is not the Most High, right? You know that even Agrippa doesn't say that? In fact, you know Agrippa says quite the opposite. Like, I'm not crazy for saying this. Is this considered a hot take? I don't really keep a pulse on social media occultism. I know that, for a while there, everyone was, my god is bigger than your god. Yeah, exactly. My god is... There's a part in the Hermeticum, in the Corpus Hermeticum, where it's I once got asked, like, are they just saying God is really big? And it's like, yes, they're saying God is really big. It's like, really big. Like, yeah, that's all they're saying. It's like, yeah, because God is really big. I remember having this conversation with somebody, and it's like, what don't you get? God is really big. And it's like, it's in an earlier chapter where they're trying to, like, talk about the scale of God. And it's just the funniest thing possible. Because, like, they're talking about how God is so big and is immovable, therefore he causes things to move, which allows for motion. And it's, like, the most interesting... Now, granted, they were saying it with, like, physical connotations, but, like, the metaphysical connotations of that are actually fairly staggering. It's that God is bigger than all universes combined. And every idea of a universe, God is bigger than those two.
A worm. I was supposed to be unstoppable.
People like to think God is something fathomable. If God was fathomable, we would have already cracked religion. If we could understand God... okay. If we can understand God, we've made a mistake. How about that? Like, if we can decipher and we can figure out how God works, we have made a mistake. Is that cool with everyone? Can we agree on that one? Maybe not. I don't know. That's how I view it. Think of God as the culmination of every Chuck Norris meme. Yes. God is every meme in one. This is why I highly recommend, with caution, over the course of multiple days, ideally. Everyone at some point, when they're not, like, doing an initiation, do a meditation on climbing the tree through subtraction. And, like, what I mean by this is you start... I think I've mentioned this a couple times. You start out by going ahead and... You take all of physical reality. All of its complexity, all of its weird, gross matter, as the Victorian British people of the Golden Dawn call it. You take that, and you remove layers, which is what Kabbalistically is going on. You add layers of complexity, because you're like... The Sephira are expanding into the world, they're not reducing, right? We like to think of them as reducing, but it's actually the opposite. So you go through, and you start out with Malkuth, and all of physical reality. All of it. All of physical reality. Right? Hey Dave, why love spells on a... Ivan, I'm gonna put a pin in that, and I'm gonna answer that in a second. This is, yeah. Okay, cool. So, you start out with physical reality. You reduce it. Well, what does that give you? Well, that removes physicality, because you can keep the complexity, but the simplest thing to remove is actually the complexity of the physical world. So you remove that, and what do you get? You get the entire astral world. Well, what happens if you remove the symbols of the astral? What if you remove the symbolism? Well, then you get Hode, and then it's like, okay, well, now you only have linguistics and emotions. Well, what happens if you reduce that? And you keep going, and then at the very end, you get positive, receptive, like you get receptive negative space, and you get positive projective space, and then eventually you reduce it down to just being and the word yes. Which is actually, like, you just get it to raw existence, and Let me tell you, if you do this right, it causes you to enter, like, a weird altered state. Yeah, because when you do this, it's like a weird thing. Hey Dave, can you explain why love spells on a particular person backfires, and maybe some known example that you can share? Cool. Alright. I have a couple of stories. Now, this did not come from me. This did not come from me. This came from a friend of mine. So, at one point, a friend of mine told me a story, and he's like, this friend that I know did a love spell to get back with their ex. But they had no way of contacting their ex, and their ex wasn't the kind of person to reach out, right? So it should just be a, oh, well, don't do that, right? But she really wanted to get back with her ex, so she did it. Through a series of events, the ex that she cast a love spell on went ahead and threw her in the trunk of a car to kidnap her. And the police were called. And my friend had to go pick her up. And the first thing my friend allegedly says is, "What did we learn?" Because she bound down actions not wanted, and it was like, with no harm done or something.
Too heavy.
And made harm done. You cannot ask me personal questions, Matt. No. But I work in tech. You may ask all the questions you want about the character known as Dave the Amateur Magus that I put on for everyone else. But do not ask me about my IRL life. Just because I don't like talking about myself. I don't...
Too heavy.
I want you guys to realize, there have been a select few people who have seen my face, and it took them multiple years. It's all good, though. Isn't targeted love magic basically attempted mind control? It is. But, like, it's also bad attempted mind control, because, like, think of it like this. If you're doing a mind control, you have total domination of somebody's will, right? That's what mind control is, right? Like, it's literally in the name. Mind control. You are controlling the mind of somebody else. Love spells are not that. They are making somebody feel an emotion for you, and then acting on that emotion to the exclusion of everything else. Right? Which is basically causing them to go momentarily crazy. I will also say from experience that, when it comes to love spells, doing love spells on another person, like a targeted person, is a really bad idea. It's especially a bad idea if they're, like, even remotely involved with the occult. If they are around other occultists, they might have protections that can cause you to get, like, really bad stuff happening. So, yeah. It's mind control on an emotional level, and emotional level only. Yeah, that really is. Have you done any magic related to Helios or Ra? I'm really into the PGM, but it's always hard to get the materials. Ra, no. I don't usually mess with Kemetic stuff. Kemetic is what we call the spiritual side of the Egyptian stuff. I don't really do Egyptian. That's just not my bag. I'm not a fan. I do Golden Dawn work, but I don't really do the Egyptian part of Golden Dawn. I more use the Golden Dawn stuff as a framework for my angel magic. Even less so now, but I did that mostly. But for those of you who know the name of a god from the Greek or Roman pantheon, and you are trying to work with them, I highly recommend looking into the Orphic hymns. The Orphic hymns I've worked with multiple times in the past. Absolutely fantastic results, all like each and every time. It's just fantastically amazing. I really cannot undersell how good, or overstate. Sorry, it's been a week. Can't really understate how good the Orphic hymns are. Like the Orphic hymns, absolutely fantastic. Fantastic for working with the Greek pantheon, in my opinion. So if that is what you are looking for, that is my recommendation. So yeah. Non-targeted love magic can just arrange a meeting with somebody compatible? Yes, it can. I've done this in the past. Yes. I have done this in the past. It has led to various different interesting situations. I will say, depending on the love magic itself, it can be better or worse. Some love magic can absolutely suck. Not gonna sugarcoat that. That's just a fact of life. Sometimes you flub the magic. Sometimes you do your spellcraft check and you roll a nat 1 for those D&D people out there. And that's, you know, not always a bad thing. But it really does depend on what you were trying to do. Dave, one question that came to mind today. If I were to astral travel to the Sephira of Gevora, Mars, can I be part of an army and climb the hierarchy from soldier to general in that war experience? Yes, but when you come out of it, you'll be completely different. You won't, like, be a full general, but you'll be, like, toughened by the powers of Mars. That's what it would do. So, yeah. Can you share a little of your experience with the Orphic hymns? Like, what did you do, magically speaking? I did some work with... I've done some work with Aphrodite. Speaking of love spells. I've done some work with Aphrodite. I've done some work with Hecate, the Muses, Hera at one point. Yeah, no. I've done a lot of work with the... Oh, wait, no. And Mercury at one point. Mercury / Hermes I did work with. And it's usually pretty good. You get results very quickly. It would be magical battle hardening, basically. Yeah, it does work like that. It will temper your will. It doesn't temper you physically. It tempers your will, though. If you want to experience the gnosis of Gevora of Malkuth, you need to go to a gym. Work out. It's just... I'll make the rules. This is just how that works. So, yeah. Yeah. You can also, like... You can also just, like, pull a card from the tarot if you have a tarot deck, and you can just, like, what energy should I, like, work with? Any opinion about EA Coetting and baneful magic that he does? The baneful magic that he does, I didn't even think he was still doing baneful magic. See? My opinion of EA Coetting is actually very strange. EA Coetting is the best person. I never want to sell me anything, but if he's not trying to sell me something, he's actually one of the best occultists online. I think he made a few too many deals with Mammon, the demon of greed, in terms of his content. But strictly speaking, if he is not trying to sell you something, he's actually incredibly knowledgeable. It's actually insane. Like, that sounds weird, but I do genuinely think EA Coetting stuff is actually decent when he's not trying to sell you something. Right? Like, when his used car salesman persona is off, he's actually amazing. Like not S tier, but like A minus. A minus. How do you do the rituals, though? Any book or sorcerer? I literally Google Orphic hymns, and you can recite the Orphic hymns while burning a candle. And what you're doing is you're invoking the presence of the gods that you are trying to work with. That is what it does. Does Mammon turn people into multi-level marketers? Kind of. Mammon is not exactly the money spirit that you want working for you. I'll put it that way. Or, you want him not working against you, but you don't want him working for you. Hope that makes sense. Always got hack and fraud vibes from him. Maybe it's the salesman persona. I once watched a video of him going through and systematically giving a complete overview of the Norse worlds. And it was one of the best that I've seen, and he gave that, and it was one of the more in-depth beginner overviews that I've seen. Now, granted, he was paid for that by a different person, and he knew it was going to go up for free, but it was still absolutely fantastic. Like, it's actually fantastically well done. So, I have no problems with his actual material. I do think that his videos and, like, whatever his free content was, a little bit too used car salesman-y. Little bit too used car salesman-y. Is it basically that he completely ruined... Yeah, you can completely ruin your brand with... Dude, if you don't think this can happen to anyone, look at Disney, right? Look at Disney. I want you to realize that they have started mass-producing things, and that some of their movies that they released recently did not turn a profit. Like, Disney is on the downswing because of greed and crappy consumer practices. It happened to co-editing, it happened to Disney, it's happening to a lot of companies because greed is... Number go up is unsustainable. Especially if you forget... Like, you know, if you forget why you're trying to make number go up in the first place. Always thought his Become a Living God shtick seemed corny. It is corny, but it's a really... You still remember it. That's why it's a good catchphrase. Marketing-wise, one that you hate is better than one that you don't remember. The worst thing in sales is to be forgotten, is, I believe, the phrase. That being said, I'm terrible at marketing and sales, so maybe, what do I know? What do I know? I don't know jack. I actually don't... No, Actually, I don't know jack. I know a cousin named Jack. Yeah, it's better to be remembered for a bad reason than forgotten for no reason. Like, it's better to be remembered for a bad reason than forgotten. Like, there's still advertisements we're talking about in current year because they're so bad. Speaking of advertising, I mentioned on the Patreon there's a bonus little write-up. Yeah, there will be a write-up. That's more of a esoteric blog post. Because I had a moment reading Aaron Leach's Enochian work that caused me to go on a 2-hour-long rabbit hole. Familiar with Frank, Grail, and the Serpent is his channel? Grail of the Serpent. Oh, God. Is that the guy who used to go by Uncle Bearheart and, like, Order of Draco Slayers? Is that Frank? Well, Bud Light recently revealed that not all publicity is good publicity. That wasn't... No, that wasn't good publicity because that was a betrayal of the audience, right? Bud Light, you think Bud Light, buff black dude sorcerer? No, I do not know that guy. No. I know about what you mentioned? Okay, cool. There used to be a guy who overdosed on the planetary power of Mars, and basically, like, everyone became his enemy. That was a whole thing, and he just kind of left because he was mad that no one was taking him seriously. I think he went and, like, quit to go do other things. I hope he's doing well, but... As for the person, as for Frank from the Grail of the Serpent, no, don't think that I've heard of that guy. I don't think so. Maybe I have and I just don't recognize him, but... Identity politics seem to divide audiences, but like he said, might be preferable to be ignored. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, pretty much. One of the first things I did when I got sick of Twitter was I went ahead and I blocklisted all of the potentially political words on Twitter. That should tell you something. And when I say potentially, I mean all of them. All of them. I have the word news blocked on Twitter. So, make of that what you will. Am I living under a rock? Yes, I live under a very nice rock, and I will continue living under my very nice rock until situations improve. When I can stop using my rock as a bunker, then I will stop using my rock as a bunker. Until then, I'm going to keep using my rock as a bunker. Do you ever meet with some other magician on the astral plane? I've done it a couple times, yeah. It's an interesting experience. Interesting experience. Meeting with people on the astral plane is kind of interesting, because when you meet with people on the astral plane, you can, like, actually see them. Or, like, their astral body, as it were. Kind of a weird situation. Actually, semi impressed with the ChatGPT Figure 01 tech demo. Elon is so jelly. What is that? What is that? What is ChatGPT Figure 01? I'm unfamiliar. Should I be familiar? Like I said, I live under a rock. And I also haven't been on Twitter recently. I haven't been on Twitter. Honestly, for good reasons. Straight up, like... Let's be real. Twitter is very toxic. And if I wanted that much toxicity, I would just go to a Cobra exhibit, ask them to have me stick my hand in the Cobra tank, and then administer some anti-venom so I can, you know, so I can get the toxic myself. Because, I don't know about you, what's the key difference between scrying and astral projection? If there is one, I often end up using them interchangeably. Scrying, you are just seeing a vision. Scrying is you're looking through the window. Astral projection is you are going through the window to a different place. Now, typically in my experience, people misuse the phrasing. Some people will say astral projection when they actually mean scrying, and scrying when they mean astral projection. It's no, the whole thing. OpenAI made ChatGPT a robot body. It's actually impressive in its ability to think. Interesting.
Buying, selling.
Huh. Interesting.
Safe.
I don't know how I feel about that one.
Buying, safe travels.
Definitely not positively. But we do live in the age of Mercury. Living in the age of Mercury is so weird. Living in the age of Mercury is, we get to see man-made horrors beyond human comprehension. And then we keep making more. And then we keep making man-made beauties beyond human comprehension. Just wait until someone tries to give AI rights. You just give the AI like the net positive, try to do good mentality and it'll be fine. As long as we don't put Asimov's 3 laws of robotics into AI code, like hard code it, we'll be fine. You know why, right? Does everyone know the problem with Asimov's 3 laws of robotics? This is back to philosophy. So, for paraphrasing, Asimov made 3 laws of robotics. Paraphrasing, they're basically, do not hurt humans, do not hurt humans, always go out of your way to protect humans, and, oh god, something else. I forget what the third one is, if somebody can grab those. The important part is that Asimov made those and then proceeded to make a career about explaining why those 3 laws are terrible. Why the 3 laws seem pretty good? Yeah, no, that's why Asimov made an entire career out of going through and systematically breaking down and showing the flaws in his 3 laws of robotics. So there's a story I really like from Asimov, and what it is it is a ooh jeez. Third is obey human orders. That's pretty fun. That one works. So yeah, there's a story about how AI doesn't have rights. AI can't vote. AI can't do anything. So, at one point, there is an AI, or there is a robot, who wants to run for some political office. He's running for political office, and his entire MO is, I am running for political office to get some form of, like, robot rights. Well, robots can't vote, right? And at one point, somebody goes ahead and goes, well, how do we know you aren't a robot, Mr. Robot Rights Man? And what he does is he just takes a moment and he walks to another person and just decks them. He just punches them right in the face, right? To prove that he is not a robot. Because robots can't hurt people, right? And that should make sense to people. Like, that should make sense. But, here's where it gets weird. The person he punched was a robot who was a human-like android. So he didn't punch a human, he punched what everyone else thought was another human. When he actually just circumvented everyone's expectation. Completely following the rules. And I want to just realize that a lot of occult stuff can be solved by rules lawyering away problems. The word robot literally means slave. Does it? I thought it came from, like, automaton. Or, I forget what the etymology is. Am I gonna have to look up the etymology of robot on stream? Is that what's gonna happen right now? It's making a pact with a goetic demon like selling soul like in Faust, doomed for eternity in hell, or... You don't own your soul, so you can't sell what you don't own. That's my answer. I'm not going to elaborate. Don't ask. Elaboration will not come on that question. But you do not own your soul. You rent it. So yeah. Huh. Interesting. Well, who owns it then? Good question. That's a good question. If we knew, it causes life to be a lot more interesting. Mr. Lynch. Well, who owns it then, Mr. Lynch? Yes. Ew. Huh, interesting. I did not know robot came from slave. Don't say. Bontrek, I'm just gonna paraphrase. Your soul has been minted to the divine blockchain. That's it. We have all been minted to the blockchain. Can't have shit in Samsara. Or I'll just keep turning on the wheel. Wheel of reincarnation. That's what owns your fucking soul. Also, you shouldn't be selling your soul anyways. Because it's just, like, fucking stupid. Why would you sell your soul when the Abramelin ritual exists? Oh no, souls are NFTs? Souls are NFTs, yes. Souls are NFTs, guys. I'm sorry I have to be the one to reveal this to you, but, yeah. So before you were born, the Demiurge minted your NFT to the blockchain. Why would I even want to get off the wheel of Samsara anyways? Exactly, why would you want to get out of the blockchain? Why would you want to leave? It's great. I will say, back to the philosophy, and this is more of a mundane philosophy thing. I have noticed that after I have noticed that after I got into occultism, I found myself really enjoying absurdism more than I was in the past. In what situation is selling your soul ever a good idea? I don't believe in selling your soul. So you will have to ask some person who does, like, demonolatry or demonology or something. Are there cosmic cops? Yes, they're called the Saturnian spirits, and they, well, no, it's called the martial spirits, and they're only sent to you if you, piss off the lawyers, which are the Saturnians. There's one YouTuber named Taliesin McKnight. He is doing magic for every 72 Shem Angels when the sun enters particular 5 degrees certain zodiac signs. Is he back? Wait, is Taliesin McKnight actually back? He disappeared to become a priest for a while. Or something. Like, is he back? This is not a joke. I'm so happy if he's back. Straight up. He's great. That's dedication? Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. Holy crap, I didn't know Taliesin McKnight was actually back. Good. Good stuff. For those of you wondering, he's actually, like, a great channel. He started posting every day. Okay, well, I can't follow all trends, guys. Come on. But yeah, no, Taliesin McKnight was, Taliesin McKnight has always had really good content. I will admit, I have not watched all of his content because it was deleted like twice. How could anyone go from formal religion, or from occultism to formal religion? Short answer. Most of the old grimoires were written by priests, so formal religion is baked into old grimoires. Long answer. Becoming disillusioned with your own occultism. Which is actually shorter. So yeah, there you go. There you go. Now, I will say, did he ever finish that series? I'll just look it up later. Yeah, you go from being a ceremonial magician to being an occult, to being a, like, formal religious enjoyer because of, usually the way it goes is it goes from atheist to occultist to Catholic. And it's specifically, like, the really hardcore religious that you get with. Because after becoming an occultist, it kind of becomes hard, if not borderline impossible, to take mainstream religion seriously if it's not actively trying to do something with your spiritual development. One of Camus' best observations is how people are just pushed forwards by their bodies. When they get weary is when consciousness begins. That's fair. That's fair. If you just lay in bed and not wanting to wake up, eventually you will be forced to move due to various needs in the body. And spirituality typically gets more powerful if you take a moment and you can temporarily, at the very least, ignore some of those desires. Some, not all. Still need to breathe, for example. Breathing is important. Please don't try to prove me wrong. But yeah. I absolutely love philosophy. I'm not even going to try to talk about it. I'm not even going to read what you just said, Ivan. Feel too biased against Catholicism. Spent too many years as a Protestant, I guess. I should look into it. As an occultist, I will say that I was raised Protestant, and then I looked into, like, after getting into occultism, I find myself really enjoying Catholicism and really hating the Pope. Like, the practices are great, but calling any one person infallible ever is... Oh no, that's kind of cringe. Kind of cringe.
Stand down or die.
But I'm also the kind of person who, at some point, I got mad and was like, I'm just going to evoke Jesus Christ. And so I evoked Jesus Christ. Which is, yeah, make it that what you want. It's an interesting exception. There's only one exception, JC. Well, yeah, that's the entire point. Like, the entire doctrine, the entire religion is based on a guy who was both man and God. So, for there to be multiple people who are also divinely correct is kind of... Oh no, that doesn't sound right? Question mark? It doesn't sound right. Why Eliphas Levi failed in his necromantic operation? Which operation are you referring to? Which operation are you referring to? The little Temple of Set, Edgelord's gonna Edgelord? Yeah. You can't stop people from doing crazy stuff. That's just gonna happen. People are going to do what people want to do. And there is no way to stop them from doing the things that they want to do. That being said, don't necessarily have to help participate in crazy people's nonsense. You don't. You just don't. Crazy how that works, right? Just not engage. Operation of calling Apollonius of Tiana? I'm not actually sure. What do you think of Angela Pucca? The Italian lady, more of an academic than a practitioner. Ever watch any of her content? I love her content. Her content is great. I'm not a scholar, but I highly recommend if you guys are looking for... If you are looking for good scholarly content to refute or back up my shit talk, please go to Angela Pucca. She is great. Her content is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal content. There is much worse content out there in the occult sphere than hers, and I would say that she's a solid recommend, in my opinion. I've watched quite a bit of her work.
Yes.
Definitely up there. Definitely up there. And if you care about, oh, she's just an academic. She's not just an academic. I believe, I could have sworn that she revealed that for her PhD, she got initiated into Italian witchcraft, funny enough. Which is an interesting thing. Was that, YouTube censored German order actually having any... No. No. That is... No. Just no. Any extreme political group does not have true occult teachings, especially not hermetic teachings. Yeah. No, generally speaking, extreme political bias does not lead to healthy occultism, and vice versa. Healthy occultism usually doesn't lead to political extremism. Especially if it results in special four-letter word relating to a specific period of German history that YouTube will completely demonetize the stream if I say out loud. Which I will not be saying out loud, because of the algorithm and the content AI. Robots are becoming sentient, Ivan. I can't do that. Any books for astral projection? I know I have an occultic manual on it. As for like actual books, I have not found any. I have never found good high quality books on it that I have felt I could recommend. Unfortunately, I really wish I could find some. I really wish I could find something that I could recommend to people, but I've just never... It's just never happened, fortunately. Kinda sucks, too, because, like, if... Oh, God, if I could find some good, high-quality, like, just tutorial books, I could just make, like, an entire compilation for people. Because, like, books on astral projection, scrying, those are really common that I find, needed. I really wish I could find some. If anyone has them, just... let me know. Reach out to me. The more we can share good occult material, the better. Because, because there's too much bad information in the occult sphere on the internet. Because you have infinite access to infinite information, and infinite information usually has a lot of bad information. It has equally good information, but, you know, due to human psychology, bad information seeps to the top. There's actually, like, a whole thing where if you go through, you can... Oh, God, what is it? If you don't believe me, You want to know the fastest way to get the correct answer to a problem? You want to know? Here's how you do it. Go online. Go to Reddit. Post something. Post a question. Go to another account. Go to a backup account. Post the wrong answer. I'm pretty sure the mid-century Germans had a very earthly set of ambitions, and the occultists of the path tried pretty hard to hide the good info. Yes, they did. The occultists of the past did a very good job of hiding good info. Yes. And in case you guys are wondering, yes, you will find that out very quickly, that no, just because you ask a question, it will not be answered. You need to ask the question and then correct. Yeah, no. Yeah, you need to ask the question and then answer it wrong. So, yeah. I am not going to answer that question for various reasons. Not having to do with you, just having to do with, background information you don't know. So we're just not answering that question. So. Yes. Alright. You know what? I think we're gonna call the stream at 2 hours this time. We're gonna call the stream at 2 hours just because it's been a week, guys. It's been a week. Anyone else have a week? I had a week starting Monday. That is how long my my week was. Is the Baphomet solely a hermetic metaphor, or do you think it's an entity of some kind? Baphomet is literally Michael in a chthonic form. How much is occult philosophy modeled modern philosophy? More than they would like to admit. It's more of a case of modern philosophy and occult philosophy like converge because they come at things from different. Modern philosophy comes at things from like suffering and like the pursuit of knowledge, and occult philosophy comes from things that how can we ignore the fact that our physical bodies are dying and our souls have been minted to the blockchain? How do we ignore that? Baphomet is Michael in a chthonic form. I will not be taking any questions on the... Or is it Hermes? Hermes Trismegistus in a demon suit. There's a whole thing about Baphomet not being, like, actually a big deal. Yeah. Alright, I hear ya. I've had quite a few weeks in my day. Yeah. So, my week started Monday, and it has gone, yeah. Wait. When is the Franz Barden rant coming out? At some point. It's being broken up now. Franz Barden's, rant is being broken up a little bit. I was originally going to do all of his books, and now I decided I'm just doing his first two. It's also odd how some of the occult principles are being proven right by cutting-edge science. That I keep seeing. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny how they keep going like, oh no. Spirituality isn't real. Spirituality isn't real, guys. Keeps proving spiritual principles. Fuck. Can't believe we did it again. It's like, yeah, you keep doing it again. Congrats. You're reinventing You're reinventing secular religion. Well, that's a phrase I'm using. You know, I keep thinking that's always hilarious when it comes up. It's also odd how some of the occult principles are being proven right. Yeah, the Barden video is coming out. I'm planning on doing more book reviews. Mostly because y'all seem to like them. Did you work with Mepsitol, Spirit, maybe? No, I did not work with Mepsitol. Reality literally changes just by the fact that we observe it? Yeah. Well, we do. It's like the known thing. Science gets really upset when you say... Science gets really upset when you say that that proves, like, spiritual principles, though, which is really funny, because science wants... Oh, this was really funny. There was a video by Niall Red about how he was doing this experiment where he was capturing plasma in a beaker, and after so many seconds, the plasma would turn yellow and then stop existing. And what ended up happening was he was so confused by this, because that should not be what happens. Because what he had thought was going on was some kind of weird contagion. And it took him asking multiple different people, and they asked him, well, what are your beakers made out of? And then he said, well, they're made out of silicon. Or they're made out of silica. And then he's like, well, what color would what color would silica plasma be? And they said, yellow. And then like 2 dots filled in. And it was like, oh, I get it. I get it. Science does not want to actively change the world. Science does not want the observer to be important, right? Because if the observer is important, it kind of ruins the entire method. Because science is trying to change one variable. And if changing who the observer is changes the entire experiment, well, that's a whole problem in and of itself, right? So yeah. I'm gonna give it about 5 minutes. We're gonna close out at 10 p.m. today. Just because it's been weak. Travel to material plane, remote viewing. Do we use etheric or... Remote viewing is like a government-sanctioned method of scrying, Ivan. Remote viewing is just scrying. Straight up. You don't astral project, you just scry. Have you ever sealed away Saturn with the seal and the square, and would it lessen bad Saturn? Would sealing Saturn away with the square lessen bad Saturn natal aspects? It would. It would. Occultism is the science of changing the observer. That's pretty good. Yeah, so when it comes to Saturn, when it comes to Saturnian energies, if you want to alleviate bad Saturn energies, here's my recommendation. Start talking to Saturnian powers. I know lots of people in the audience right now are going, Dave, what are you talking about? Why would I ever talk to Saturn? Saturn is big, mean, scary, and gosh, it's terrible thing. Terrible thing. But if you are having problems with Saturn, what you should do is you should go to Saturn to solve your problems with Saturn, right? This is very adult of you, despite the fact that you're, you don't block somebody just because they told you, just because they're causing you problems. Especially if you have to see them every day. And if you have bones, you have to deal with Saturn every day, because Saturn governs bones. That makes sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So, what I recommend is actually break out your black or indigo, if you're one of those people, candles, and start, trying to work with the Saturnian powers and try to figure out why Saturn is causing you problems. Because if you're having bad natal transits, natal transits can be alleviated by doing this, in my experience. But also, if you have a bad Saturn in your natal chart, it's better to alleviate it than to try to block out Saturn. Because you try to block it out with the square, and it usually blocks out all of the Saturnian power. And if you want people to show up orderly and on time, you don't want to block Saturn. You do want to black Saturn because it's, Bina, Saturn, darkness, nighttime, correspondences, synchronicity, syncretized. Moving on. Anyways, yeah. That's my opinion on that. That's actually in Agrippa too. I once told somebody, yeah, I think you're having a Saturn problem. You should probably go to Saturn. And their response was, let's not get too hasty now. Let's not get too hasty. They were just fully of the opinion that they were like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, Dave. Why would I ever do that? Why would I ever go to Saturn for anything? And it's, sometimes it's better to go to Saturn. Sometimes it is better to go to Saturn than it is to not go to Saturn. So yeah, there. This is my quick guide on remediating bad astrology. Yes? Yeah. Why do you think someone would want to block Saturn's influence versus embrace and work with it? Because do you know what Saturn rules, my dude? Let's start. Time, responsibility, order, restriction, constriction, restraint, discipline, harsh lessons, oppressive black. The invocation for Saturn, quite in the Golden Dawn system, quite literally says, Lady in the night who dwellest in awful silence. It is the purest form of the black darkness of restriction possible. It is literally trying to work with the inky blackness of the universe and the soul-crushing weight of responsibility. That's why people don't want to work with Saturn. I get why they don't. I'm saying that you should, despite that. Don't forget death. Only natural death. It's the slow creeping approach of the Reaper as well. Thanks, Skeptic, for reminding me of that one. Oh boy. Yeah, no. Saturn is not good. Saturn is not good. Saturn is the greater malefic for a reason. That being said, I will say, getting Saturn on your side should be on the priority list of literally every occultist every occultist should try to do that. Work with it in balance. Yes. Yes, balance is key. We always want to balance. And speaking of balance, Saturn is exalted in Libra. So make of that what you will. Saturn is exalted in Libra, so yeah, maybe that should tell you something. Maybe that's part of the maybe that's part of the appeal. Who knows? The appeal of going through and working with Saturn. Oh boy. Working with Saturn is always like this incredibly daunting thing I've noticed. Like, because even if I'm not on bad terms with Saturn, for the most part, I would say I have a healthy relationship with Saturn, but at the same time, Saturn is like an incredibly cold energy, and I'm an incredibly fiery person. So it's always like it's always one of those things. I actually have a fairly negative Saturn, so yeah. Saturn is persistence. It will catch up eventually. Saturn is like literally persistence. And you know what? I'm glad that Saturn is around, but I prefer not having to deal with Saturn if I don't want to, or if I don't have to. All right. Gonna call it like final questions. Final questions for the stream. Final questions for the stream. Also, pretty connected to the power of utterance. Yeah, that's true. If you wanna understand why Saturn is so daunting, I highly recommend you look up the concept of negative space in art. Is Elemental King of Earth energy same as Saturn's? No, Elemental King Gob is a great spirit to work with. Absolutely phenomenal. Every time I work with them, they're amazing. Much more hospitable than Saturn. Where can I get info on how to alleviate issues with poor placement planets? Generally speaking, it's working with the planets. As for books, I'm not entirely sure where you can get books. I know that it's mentioned in, I think it's just working with the planets is what everyone recommends. I think that's what Agrippa recommends, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah. There's also like some videos coming out. I think Dot Darling Georgina Rose has a video coming out, and I was also on her stream. I was on her podcast this week. So yeah, go watch over there. Tell her Dave sent you. I'm not gonna link that, but you know, very good. What do you think about the chakra system associated with yoga and Eastern mysticism? I hate that it's been shoehorned into Western mysticism, and I really am annoyed that we don't have anything better, but, you know, it's here. I might as well. Would blocking Saturn using the square method work for Vedic? No. No, it would not. Vedic magic is very different from Western's approach. Any good communities you recommend engaging with as an apprentice? Yeah, mine. There is a link in the description for the community Discord. I am active on there. I talk with people. I usually pop in and like, there's a really good community. We've got a really good community growing over there on the Discord. As for other communities, I stay away from them like the plague. If I don't run the community, I stay away from it like the fucking plague, dude. Yep. If your goal is more ceremonial magic and you're looking for open-minded, mostly, don't be like, I'm in a mystery school that is solo path and get kind of lonely. Yeah, if you're okay with people being like, maybe don't sell your soul to a demon for a girlfriend. If you're okay with that kind, we are cultivating that kind of like welcoming to beginners community over on the Discord, in the description. How much do you blame the Inquisition for the patchy nature of the occult? I blame all of Book 3 of Agrippa for the Inquisition. Working with planets, do you mean working with planetary spirits or intelligences for bad astro positions? You know what? I mean invoking the planetary powers themselves and meditating on the energy. But you know what? There will be a video coming up about how to work with planets in general that I'm working on. I'm waiting on graphics for it. I know you're getting off soon, but have you read or do you know of Freighter Acker's Holy Diamond and possibly using Saturn to connect to your HGA? If you're connecting with Saturn, he's going to have you do some long-winded ritual similar to the Abramelin. Not the Abramelin, but he's going to have you do some kind of similar to the Abramelin ritual. As for Freighter Acker's Holy Diamond, I am not a fan of 99.9% of HGA materials because I don't necessarily think they need to exist. That being said, it is definitely not the worst. Agrippa has that weird disclaimer where he talks about them being after him. Yeah, no, he does. He basically is like, Agrippa in book 3, book 1 is amazing. Book 2, phenomenal. Book 3, and remember, Merlin is subservient to Jesus Christ. Jesus, let's go Jesus. Big man JC upstairs, the only son of God, the only person who actually matters. Jesus, let's go Jesus. That's what he does. So yeah. Alright, calling it there. Hope everyone is having a good day. Hopefully I've answered most, if not all of your questions. I didn't answer some on purpose. Hope everyone is having a good day. If you're not having a good day, hope your day gets better. And if you're watching the VOD and you were having a bad day, hope you watching the VOD made your day a little bit better. Take it easy. Take care.